By the end of this video, I will have you begging your mind for even the worst thoughts and feelings from your anxiety and OCD, because you will be able to use them to create the experiences and the life that you dream of. And the methods I'm about to teach you, I personally used to overcome 14 years of OCD and anxiety that was so bad I couldn't work, I couldn't date, and at times I didn't even want to be alive. So the first thing you need to know is what is actually causing your OCD and anxiety that you've never been told before. Because you're not broken. They're not lifelong conditions. It's not just, oh, forevermore you'll just have this genetic chemical imbalance, so you're just, oops, you're done for. No, I've helped way too many people overcome their OCD and anxiety to know that those are lies. But stick around till the end, because after I share what's actually causing the OCD and anxiety, then I'm going to teach you 10 specific steps that you can start applying right now to actually not care at all about even the worst thoughts and feelings that get triggered, and 10 specific steps you can start using right now to actually use even the worst thoughts and feelings to create the beliefs and the life that you dream of. What if I told you every single negative thought and feeling that you ever experience comes from these 4 causes? Every human, no matter how you were raised, no matter where you came from, no matter what trauma you have or haven't been through, every human has 4 deep psychological needs. And as crazy as it sounds, these needs are at the root of all of your OCD and anxiety. Need number 1, safety and survival. The need to stay alive and not get hurt. Need number 2, freedom and control. The ability to not be acted upon or not be trapped, but instead actually have freedom and control over how you feel, what happens, and what you do in your life. Need number 3, significance or being good enough. The book How to Win Friends and Influence People talks about how the biggest need of everything is the need to be valuable, to be special, to be appreciated. That is significance. And number 4, the need for love and connection. This is what I believe is the biggest need. That so much of what we do is rooted in that need for that love, whether it's intimate love or family love or love and connection with friends or a community or just strangers or people in general. And you might be wondering, okay, if I have this need for love and connection, then why would that make my brain convince me that I'm going to harm someone that I love, or convince me that people are judging me and not loving me? Like, why, how would that connect? How would that cause that? So one more concept with this that I need you to understand is the idea of your subconscious mind. Your subconscious is the part of your brain that memorizes and stores information so that you can automatically use that information. For example, right now, I could tell you to tie your shoe, and I'm guessing that you could tie your shoe while you're still paying total attention to what I'm saying because you've memorized how to tie your shoe. So all you have to do is think, tie my shoe, and boom, your body just goes. Your subconscious just goes and it ties your shoe. And you don't have to consciously think about, oh, how do I hold it here? And how do I hold it like this? No, because you've memorized it subconsciously. And while a lot of people understand that you can memorize a physical skill like playing basketball in your subconscious, so that if you practice shooting enough times, then Steph Curry, when he goes to shoot the basketball, he doesn't have to sit and think, oh, how do I hold it? And how hard should I throw it? Like, no, he's memorized that subconsciously. So all he does is think shoot, and boom, he shoots. Made it. But most people don't realize it's the exact same way with your thoughts, feelings, beliefs, perceptions, and ways of experiencing life. When you wake up in the morning and you start thinking about the same problems, and you start worrying about the same fears, and you start feeling shame about the same things, and then you go and you brush your teeth in the same way, and then you go to work and you drive the same path, and while you're driving to work, you're thinking about the same people at work that are about to push the same emotional buttons, and the same problems or things you're gonna have to figure out at work, and the same reasons of why you hate it or why, and it's all these same patterns. And in that way, all of your suffering, all of the anxiety, all of the OCD, it's not that you're just fighting against reality, because reality is just terrible and it's just inherently bad, or that thing you're afraid of is just inherently terrifying and awful, or that you're just condemned to a lifetime of worrying about this and fearing this thing. No, it's just that you've memorized those subconscious patterns that then have taken control over your life and cause you to automatically, because your subconscious is automatic, so automatically and very powerfully can make you think and feel the exact same ways over and over and over again. And every time it makes you think and feel the same way, it's memorizing it even more, so that now before you know it, for the last 20 years or 5 months or however long, you've been so stuck in the same anxious or OCD patterns that are just patterns. And the most exciting thing about this is that you can rewire those patterns. You can actually overcome all of those patterns. All of the patterns that are causing you the OCD, the anxiety, the fear, the shame, the same stories of worrying about this and this over and over again, the intrusive thoughts, all of that. It's just patterns that you can rewire and you can overcome for good, which is why there are other people that your worst fear, the thing that the anxiety and OCD is always telling you, and it's so terrifying, it's the worst thing in the world, that fear doesn't even occur to those other people. Like they've never even thought of that possibility or never even felt fear at all towards that thing. And yet somehow they manage to not have that danger that's everything to you. They manage to not even have that affect their life. Like they still live a great life where they're free from that thing ever even happening or bothering them. It's not because, oh, you're just a bad person or you just are terrible or the thing your brain's telling you, it just is true about you, but it's not true about them. No, it's just because you've memorized that pattern and they haven't. So it doesn't exist to them at all, because the only reason it exists to you at all is because you've memorized the pattern. That is the only existence of that fear, of the anxiety, and of the OCD, is just the fact that you've memorized that pattern in your brain, which now we are going to overcome. And because it's all subconscious patterns, to show you what is possible for you. For me, most of my OCD and anxiety was towards me being judged or never loved by anyone, and especially by women. So my brain would convince me of all these insecurities, all these terrible, disgusting things about me, or all these reasons why I'd never be loved. I remember a specific day about a month after I started using all the tools to change my brain, and some of the tools I'm about to teach you. And I remember I was walking on campus and I got this text from this girl that I was interested in rejecting me. And in the past, that would have been the biggest trigger in the world for me. Like, oh my goodness, what's wrong with me? What did I do? Oh, it's because of this thing and this, and I'll never be loved. And it was the craziest thing ever, because when I read that text, my brain almost started going to all those old insecure patterns, but instead it was like boom. I was just filled with this confidence, this joy, this love, this feeling like I was loved and like I was gonna have the love I wanted and like I was good enough and all these amazing things. And I was like, what the heck? Like, how is this happening? Because the cool thing was, just as powerful and real as the OCD and anxiety can feel, where it's just so convincing, you're like, I know for a fact this is real, it's because your subconscious patterns are making it seem that real. So what if you could rewire your subconscious and get your subconscious patterns to make your dream life seem that real, to make the confidence and the love and the freedom and everything that you want, to make that seem that real? Because that is what happened for me in that moment. I had rewired my brain enough that my new most dominant subconscious patterns were all the good things. So that my brain, even when that worst thing happened of me getting rejected, my brain automatically sent me to those amazing patterns that made me experience the life that I dreamed of. And that can happen for you too, because your brain and nervous system have billions of neurons, the cells that make up your nervous system. And it has all these different circuits of neurons that have connected to each other. And each circuit of neurons, when you fire that circuit, it creates a specific experience or specific thoughts or specific behaviors or actions or movements or whatever that go with that circuit. So to put this very simplified, obviously it's a lot more complex than this, you can imagine that these are 4 different circuits in your brain. And when you fire this circuit in your brain, that's what makes you feel sad. And this circuit makes you feel confidence. And this circuit makes you feel happiness. And this circuit makes you feel anxiety. When I'm firing this circuit in my brain, it automatically causes me to release the chemicals and have the thoughts and whatever of making me feel sad. Guess what? When you fire a circuit over and over and over and over again, it makes that circuit more memorized and more powerful and more automatic. So even if all 4 of these circuits exist inside of you, so it's possible for you right now to experience happiness, confidence, sadness, or anxiety. Right now in this moment, you can experience any of those just by firing the circuit that would then create that experience for you. It's that simple. But if for the last 10 years, the circuit you've been firing over and over and over and over again is anxiety, and you haven't been firing these circuits very much, then all of a sudden, now your anxiety circuit is super memorized and super automatic. So now your brain is just always looking to feel anxious, always finding things to make you anxious. That's just the automatic default setting of your brain now. But these other circuits still exist inside of you. So it is still absolutely possible for you to experience all of the confidence that you want towards always loving your kids and never harming them, or towards being in that dream relationship that you want, or towards people loving you and wanting to be around you instead of judging you, or towards God loving you and actually forgiving you instead of you being condemned by your sins. You can experience all the confidence, all the happiness and freedom and everything good that you want. It exists right there inside of you. All you've got to do is teach your brain that you want it to access those good circuits instead of the negative circuits, because every circuit that you experience in each moment happens for a specific reasons following specific patterns and specific equations. So this is now when we're going to go into how your need for love and connection, how that can actually cause you to fear harming someone that you love, because that is actually what's causing it. So let's jump into that. Now that you understand that it's all about your subconscious patterns, you might be wondering, then how did I get such terrible patterns? Like, how did I get these subconscious patterns that are causing all this terrible anxiety and OCD and all this suffering that I hate? So like everything I've discussed in this video, I could go 20 times more in depth on it than I am. But for the sake of time, to put this very simply, the three things that have caused your subconscious to be programmed the way that it is number one, when you are ages 0 to 7, that is when your subconscious is most susceptible to being programmed. Basically, everything you experience goes straight to your subconscious. So the way you were raised, especially at those very young ages, could still be impacting the ways you're thinking, feeling, and experiencing life now, even 60 or 20 years later. For example, if you were raised in a way that you had to be perfect in order to have your parents' love or approval, then now, even as a 50-year-old, you might experience everything through the lens of, I have to be completely perfect in every way in order to ever be good enough to be loved. And then your brain obsesses over avoiding every imperfection. Number two, your subconscious is programmed through emotional experiences. So if you had a very traumatic event or multiple traumatic events, or if you just had repeated emotional experiences, or even saw someone else go through repeated experiences, as far as if you saw your mom repeatedly struggle with her health in a painful way that caused all this negative emotion inside of you, then now, even 20 years later, you might have memorized the patterns of, oh my goodness, what if I have this health problem? That'd be terrible. That'd be dangerous. Number three, yes, your genetics can impact how your subconscious has been programmed. But no matter how much your genetics have or haven't impacted it, you can still overcome that. You can still rewire your subconscious and overcome the anxiety or OCD, no matter how genetic it is. And this is coming from someone who, my mom and all my older siblings and tons of my relatives have all had anxiety and OCD and all these mental struggles that I have now overcome, because genetics cannot keep you condemned. So there are a lot of things that might have contributed to how your subconscious has been programmed. But ultimately, the one thing that causes all the OCD, all the anxiety and depression and PTSD and all of those different things is when you memorize in your subconscious patterns that one or more of your needs, so again, the needs for safety and survival, freedom and control, significance or being good enough, and love and connection. When you memorize in your subconscious, so to you, it's just like a fact to you. When you memorize that one or more of those needs aren't met and that they won't be met because of something that is out of your control, that's what causes the suffering and the mental illness. Because then your brain, the whole goal of your subconscious, the one thing it's trying to do is trying to make sure that your needs are met. So someone that hasn't memorized that their needs aren't met, instead they've generally had their needs met through their life, then their brain's going to try to get the good. Oh, let's have this good experience and this good thing and this good thought and this good all of this to get our needs met. But someone that's memorized that their needs aren't met because of things out of their control, then their brain is going to go, the only way we can have our need met is to adopt the new goal of needing to protect ourselves from all of the dangers that would stop our needs from being met. So instead of trying to get the good, instead your brain is now obsessed with protecting you from the bad. That's what creates the OCD and anxiety, because every human has what Tony Robbins calls blueprints. Blueprints are what you've memorized in your subconscious of what needs to happen or not happen in order for your needs to be met. And we all have different blueprints or rules that we've memorized. For example, one person, it might be, oh, if I can just raise 4 happy kids that go on to live successful lives, that makes me good enough and significant. And maybe someone else is like, I have to have this multi-million-dollar company to be good enough and significant. Maybe someone else is, I have to have this exact type of relationship where they look this way or they do this thing in order to be good enough and significant. We all have these different blueprints. So for you, for just a second, I want you to think about first, which need or needs, maybe it's all 4 of them, maybe it's just one, which needs have you memorized aren't met because of something that's out of your control? Basically, you can think about it. If I knew for a fact that I'd have all the love and connection that I ever wanted and more, then would everything be okay in life? And then I wouldn't need the anxiety. Then everything would be good. If the answer is yes, then it means that's the need you've memorized isn't met. So if you're like, if I just knew for a fact that I'd be safe and survive, then that wouldn't really matter. Like I already know that. But if I just knew that I could be free and in control, then everything would be okay. That's how you can discover which need or needs, maybe it's all 4 again, that you've memorized aren't met for you. So go ahead, and if you want to pause the video and ask yourself those questions, do that now. And then once you know which needs haven't been met, now ask yourself, what needs to happen in order for that need to be met? In order for you to have all the love and connection you want, what needs to happen? Basically, you can ask yourself the question, what's the one thing, or maybe a few things, if I knew this was true, or if I knew this would happen, and everything would be okay. Then I wouldn't need anxiety or OCD at all, because life would just be good. Oh, if I just knew that I'd make it to heaven. If I just knew that I could actually heal from the OCD. Oh, if I just knew that I was in the right relationship now. Oh, if I just knew that I can be loved by people, or I can get the relationship I want, whatever it is. That is your blueprint. The rules you memorize of this has to happen for my needs to be met. Your brain is now going to obsess over any danger. It's going to try to find the most real, the most prevalent danger that could stop that blueprint from happening. And your brain is going to obsess over protecting you from those dangers. And that is what creates the OCD and anxiety, because that is the only thing your brain wants to do, is to protect you from those dangers. For example, if you've memorized the blueprint that the only way that any of my needs can be met is if I can make sure I go to heaven. If you've memorized that your needs aren't met and that they won't be met, then your brain's going to go, oh my goodness, what are all of the things that could stop me from going to heaven? And it's going to obsess over protecting you from those things. Or if your blueprint is, oh my goodness, the only way I can have my need for love and connection met is if I am in this right, perfect relationship right now. But again, you've memorized that your needs aren't met and they won't be. So then your brain's going to go, oh my goodness, what are all the things that would make it so that I'm not in the right relationship? And your brain is going to obsess over protecting you from those. In order to protect you from a danger, there are 4 steps that your brain thinks it has to take. To show you these steps, I want you to think about a legit danger. I want you to imagine that an actual tiger starts chasing you. The number one thing your brain thinks it has to do to protect you is to make you think about it and become aware of the danger. If a tiger starts chasing you, you don't even notice, you don't even think about it, then you're not going to be able to run away and protect yourself, and it's going to eat you. Number 2, your brain thinks it has to make you feel a negative emotion towards that danger. Because if you think about and you notice the tiger, but then you just feel totally good and happy, and you're like, oh, this is great, then you're not going to know it's bad, and you're not going to run away and protect yourself from it. So your brain thinks it has to cause a super uncomfortable emotion inside of you so that you go, wow, I hate how this is feeling. I need to escape whatever is causing this feeling. So then you protect yourself. Number 3, your brain thinks it has to convince you that that danger is actually real. Because even if I think about and notice the tiger, and even if I feel fear, but if I'm like, nah, that's not actually a real tiger, that's just like a toy, or that's just my imagination, I'm fine, then you're not going to run away and protect yourself. So your brain thinks it has to do whatever it can to actually convince you that is a real tiger. You need to treat it accordingly and protect yourself. And number 4, your brain thinks it has to convince you that it's actually bad. Because if you thought about and were aware of the tiger and you felt a negative emotion and you're like, that's a real tiger, but it's not actually bad. It's a friendly tiger. So even though I'm feeling fear, no, I'm fine, it's not going to hurt me, then you're not going to protect yourself. So your brain thinks it has to convince you it's the most terrible, awful thing in the world that's going to make all of your needs not met, so that then you actually treat it accordingly and run away and protect yourself. But the problem with these 4 steps is that with an actual danger, cool, these 4 steps can move you to take empowering action to protect yourself. But instead of it being an actual danger, when it comes to anxiety and OCD, it is a memorized possibility of a danger. So instead of being a real tiger in the moment, instead it's as if your brain has memorized there's always the possibility of there being a tiger in any moment. So then your brain thinks it has to always be doing these 4 steps all the time, whether there's an actual danger or not. Because the danger isn't real, it's memorized in a subconscious pattern. And that subconscious pattern is always present in your brain because it's just a pattern that's being run. So in that way, it's as if there's always a danger, and your brain actually develops what I call a convincing topic, which is basically your brain has memorized that anything that would stop me from having my blueprint. So if my blueprint is I need this kind of relationship, then any possible danger that could stop me from having my relationship that I want, that is now the topic that your brain thinks it has to always be doing these 4 steps towards that topic. So your brain thinks it has to always be making you think about, feel a negative emotion towards, convince you that it's actually real, and convince you that it's actually bad towards every possible thing that could ever maybe even happen that would stop you from having that amazing relationship that you want. And your subconscious has memorized that has to always be doing these things all the time, whether there's a real danger or not, to make sure that if there ever was a real danger, you'd be able to protect yourself. So whatever that memorized danger topic is to you, of anything that would stop me from going to heaven, or anything that can make me lose control and harm my children, or anything that would make it so that the relationship I'm in right now isn't actually the right relationship of how it has to be, or anything that tells you you're contaminated, or that you're not going to achieve the success in your career like you need to because that's what makes you good enough. Whatever the topic is for you, any thoughts or feelings from your brain convincing you of that terrible topic and why it's actually real and bad and making you feel it and making you think about it, anything, any negative thoughts and feelings towards that topic aren't true. It's just your brain distorting reality, imagining up lies to try to trick you because it thinks it has to lie to you and convince you that that terrible thing is always real, to make sure that you're always ready to protect yourself no matter what, even if it's something that would never or could never happen. If your subconscious had memorized the convincing topic of, I have to always be convincing myself that it's real and bad and feeling it and thinking about it, of all the reasons why people are judging and rejecting me, if that's your convincing topic, then even if every single person that has ever lived was loving you more than they loved everyone else, even if that is how much love you had, you still would feel completely unloved, and you still would have all these thousands of reasons of why people are judging you and why you are flawed and why you're going to be rejected. And that would be your experienced reality, even if it was the complete opposite of the truth, just because your brain has memorized the convincing topic that it has to convince you of those things, whether it's true or not. So if you have intrusive thoughts or specific evidence or reasons or worries about why the bad thing's going to happen, or if you feel anxiety or shame or guilt or panic, or if you are just so convinced that it's true, like, no, this time it's just actually true. This time I just actually am going to lose control and do this thing. Like I just know it this time. And even if it just seems like it's the worst thing in the world, oh my goodness, this person rejected me today. Oh my goodness, and I'm just a loser forever and no one will ever love me. And it's terrible. And I'm not. Like, when any of those things happen, it means nothing. It literally means nothing about your reality. It just means you've memorized a pattern of your brain trying to protect you from a memorized danger because you've memorized that your needs aren't met. And it's literally just patterns of thinking and feeling that's just on repeat in your brain, like a movie playing in your brain. That's it. So even the most terrible, darkest thoughts and feelings that are ruling your life, and you're like, oh, I just have to get rid of these because it's just so terrible. And it's just, they mean literally nothing about anything. They aren't bad at all. Like, they're literally nothing. They're just your imagination, right? So right now, this is going to sound silly, but I want you to imagine that in the room with you, that there's this massive purple elephant that's juggling a beach ball. Just imagine that for a second. Go ahead. I'm guessing that you didn't yell, you didn't scream, you didn't like jump up and take a picture or run out of the room. No, you probably were just like, what? Like, this is weird. Maybe you laughed or smiled or whatever. You're like, what? Why? Why didn't you yell or scream or any of that? It's because you knew it was just your imagination. Well, guess what? Now that you understand OCD and anxiety, and you understand it's literally just a convincing topic, imagining things up, then everything that has caused you so much suffering is literally just imaginary elephants. That's it. All of your deepest fears and things that seem so real to you, they are no more real than that imaginary elephant juggling that beach ball. That's it. And maybe you're like, but it just feels so real, right? The feeling's so strong. Well, guess what? Right now, if you wanted to, could you feel yourself wearing your shirt? Could you feel it on your shoulders, your stomach? Could you feel it if you wanted to? Yeah, like that physical sensation is there, but it doesn't mean anything because it has no significance on your life. And guess what? Now that you understand that all of the feelings you have, the shame, the, oh, this feels so real, the panic, the pit in your chest, all of it is literally just your brain imagining up lies that's causing you to feel that way. So no matter how strong or terrible the feeling is, it means nothing about your life. It means nothing about you. It's literally just a pattern of chemical responses happening inside of you, of your imagination, that means nothing. Like, that's it. So even if the feeling is there, it can just be a super uncomfortable shirt that means nothing about your life. So it doesn't even matter if the feeling's always there because it means nothing to you. That is the power here. And one last exercise for you to do to really show you how this convincing topic works in your brain is really quick. For about 5-10 seconds, I want you to look around you, and I want you to look for everything you can find that's the color red. Look for red, look for red, look for red, find red, look for red, close your eyes. Now I want you to think of everything you can remember that's the color brown. Probably not very many things. So go ahead, open your eyes, and this time I want you to look for brown. Look for brown, look for brown, find brown, look for brown, look for brown, close your eyes. I'm guessing there are a lot more things this time that you can think of that are the color brown. Go ahead and open your eyes, but the reason I have you do that is to show you that whatever you are looking for, you will find. And to make it even crazier, I'm guessing some of the things you called brown were actually tan, or some of the things you called red were actually pink or maroon. It's because you wanted to find it so much that you found it even when it wasn't there. Now take that and multiply it by 1,000,000, because your brain thinks it has to find every single thing that can make you a sinner that's not going to heaven. And it thinks it has to convince you that it's real and make you only experience that thing as being real so strongly that it's going to distort your entire reality. And that's all you're going to experience is only things telling you that you're a terrible sinner that's not going to go to heaven. So it's as if you're seeing the entire world through red lensed glasses where everything becomes red to you, even when it's not at all. But it's just because your brain wants you to experience that as being real to you so badly all the time in every way, because it thinks that's the only way it can make sure it's always protecting you from any danger that could happen that would make your need not met. There's a full process that I have mastered that you can use to overcome any type of OCD anxiety, where I will teach you every single step of how to rewire your subconscious, how to teach your brain that the best way to meet your needs is not through the convincing topic, but instead is through believing and feeling and thinking all the ways that you want. Methods that allow you to create all the beliefs and experiences that you want in life through the power that you have, and in ways that makes it unconditional, where literally nothing can stop you, because you can turn anything bad into something that supports you or into nothing, and where you can actually learn how to communicate with your subconscious to get your subconscious on board so that you can feel how you want to feel in any moment. I'm so confident in this process that I actually guarantee people get all the results they want, or it's completely free. Like, that's just how well it works, because it's just how the brain works, right? We've mastered the process that actually works for this. If you want more information on that, go to the link below. But now in this video, I'm going to teach you one of the steps, which is how to turn even the worst thoughts and feelings into something that's nothing to you, where you genuinely don't care if it's there at all or not. Or even better, how to turn it into something that actually supports the beliefs and the life that you want, so that the very worst thoughts themselves can set you free. It's crazy. I'm gonna say something that's going to sound crazy, so let me explain myself before you think that I've lost my mind. You have never suffered from a negative thought or feeling. You have never suffered from an anxious or OCD thought or feeling, because instead you've actually suffered from the meaning that you have given to the negative thoughts and feelings. Because think about it, intrusive thoughts are literally just images and words in your mind. They don't make you suffer, but when you view the intrusive thought as, this means I'm a terrible person, or this means I'm actually going to do this thing, or this means this thing is true and terrible in my life, then of course that's going to make you suffer. And same thing with the anxious feeling. It's just sensations. It's just chemicals inside of you. Like, that can't make you suffer. But when you give it the meaning of, oh, because I'm feeling this, that means that terrible thing is true in my life. Or because I'm feeling this, that means I'm going to always be stuck feeling this, and this feeling is too unbearable and too painful to have to deal with, then of course you are going to suffer from it. And if you still don't believe this, then here's an analogy that you've got to listen to. Imagine you found a genie, and this genie is going to grant you the wish of healing you forever from your OCD and anxiety, and making all of your dreams come true for the rest of your life. So basically you get everything you want on one condition. The genie will only grant this wish for you first thing tomorrow morning when you wake up if today you experience all the OCD and anxiety at a level 10 out of 10. If that were the case, then every time you had an intrusive thought today, you'd be like, good, like have 10 more of them, make it even more terrifying and horrible. And every time you felt anxiety, you'd be like, good, like be more anxious. I want to have a panic attack, and I want to have 10 panic attacks. And every time you had this thing that you were so worried about, you're like, good, I want to convince myself it's even worse than that. And the very things, the very worst thoughts and feelings that you want more than anything to somehow get rid of, they would actually become the most exciting, incredible blessings in the world to you. That you'd be like, that's all I want. And it's not because the thoughts and feelings themselves changed at all. It's the exact same thoughts and feelings, but it's because the view of reality about them, or the meaning that you have given to them, has changed completely, which actually changes how you experience them completely. So it's totally different. So what if you didn't need an imaginary genie in order to create this big of a change of how you view and experience your thoughts and feelings? So yes, maybe you can't control the thoughts and feelings that your subconscious triggers, but you can consciously decide the meaning that you give to those thoughts and feelings. And that is how you can take all the power back over your mind, because then you can turn anything that your subconscious does, you can turn anything that your brain does and actually create it into the experience that you want. But in order to do so, the next thing that you need to understand is what I call subconscious indication, which basically means if you want to create the positive experiences that you want, if you want to actually give something an empowering, positive meaning so that you can experience it accordingly, then it's not about what you're consciously trying to say to your brain or what you're consciously thinking. Instead, it's about the actual message that you are communicating to your subconscious. And to show you what I mean by this, I want you to imagine a door-to-door salesman comes to your home. If a door-to-door salesman knocked on your door and you open your door and they just start yelling at you, buy my product, buy my product, buy my product, they might be consciously saying, buy my product. But what's the actual message that they are communicating to your brain? That you will never buy their product and you want them to go away and leave you immediately, right? It's the same thing with your brain. So when you have this awful intrusive thought and you go, no, I can't think that, don't think that, stop thinking that. What's that telling your brain? Oh my goodness, this must be a dangerous, terrible thing, because that is why I am so against feeling it. The biggest mistake I see people with OCD and anxiety make is that they try to get rid of the thoughts and feelings. And even if it's oh, okay, well, I can't resist it, I just have to accept it, and I have to somehow accept it in order to get rid of the negative thoughts and feelings. But guess what? If the goal behind whatever you're doing is to have to get rid of the thoughts and feelings, then now that you understand subconscious indication, what is that actually telling your brain? When you try to get rid of it and you do anything to get rid of it, that's just telling your brain, these thoughts and feelings must be dangers, or they must be indicators of dangers, because otherwise we wouldn't be trying so hard to get rid of them. If it wasn't a danger, if it wasn't something bad, then we wouldn't care if it was there or not. So the reason that you've been so stuck in the anxiety and OCD is because, again, your brain has memorized that there is a danger or a topic of dangers that if they happen, it will stop your blueprints and your needs from being met. And because of that, your brain's one goal is to protect you from these dangers. But when your brain triggers these negative protective thoughts and feelings to try to protect you from that memorized danger, instead of going, oh, brain, thank you so much. Thank you so much for trying to protect me from that danger that's not even real and that's just my imagination because we've memorized it. But, thanks for trying to protect me. That's awesome. Instead, we go, oh my goodness, because I have these negative thoughts and feelings, then these negative thoughts and feelings themselves must be dangers, or they must be an indicator of danger. And because of that, we actually view them as dangers. And because we view those negative thoughts and feelings as dangers instead of as protections, then what does that do? It causes the protective negative thoughts and feelings to happen even more. And then because they're happening even more, then we view it as even more of a danger, which causes them to happen even more and even more of a danger. And then it's just this vicious cycle that makes things worse and worse and worse. So instead of treating the negative thoughts and feelings as if they are dangers, which just feeds into the cycle, instead, the goal here is when those negative thoughts and feelings get triggered, you want to remind yourself of the truth that this is just my brain imagining up things to try to protect me from something that doesn't even exist, to try to protect me from just a memorized possible danger that's not even real. Because when you can remind yourself of that, then you can actually change the meaning of the negative thoughts and feelings so that they become nothing to you, so that you actually don't care at all if they're there or not, because they don't mean anything bad about yourself or your life or your future. Like, that's the actual truth. The actual truth is that even the worst thoughts and feelings mean nothing bad about your reality. And because of that, then who cares if they're there? Like, genuinely, because they're nothing, then you can treat them like they're nothing, and you can actually not care if they're there or not at all. Or even more powerfully, I'm going to teach you how you can change the meaning of the thoughts and feelings so that you can actually view them as something good, something that empowers the life that you want, something that actually allows you to believe in the reality that you want even more. And when you can change the meaning that way, then you can actually want them to get triggered because they make your life better. Because if you can get to the point where you're like, go ahead, brain, like, trigger all day, trigger all the time these negative thoughts and feelings, because every time you do that, it doesn't mean anything. Like, I literally don't care if they're there or not. Or every time you do that, it actually turns into something good that makes me view life the way I want to view it even more, so that I believe all the good beliefs even stronger. If you can change the meaning and get to that point, that tells your brain, oh, these thoughts and feelings aren't dangers at all. And it gets rid of this, which then gets rid of this. Then your brain will automatically stop triggering the negative thoughts and feelings because it will stop viewing them as a danger. The only reason you have those negative thoughts and feelings is because you are viewing them as dangers. But now that you understand subconscious indication, the last point I want to make here is, now that you understand that the goal is to change the meaning of the thoughts and feelings so that they become either nothing to you or something good to you, so that you cannot care if they're there or not, or actually want them to be there. The thing you've got to understand and take in is, this doesn't mean that when the thoughts and feelings get triggered, you go, oh, okay, I have to prove this is nothing to me, and I have to force myself to actually believe and feel that I don't care if this is there. So, right, okay, I don't care. I don't care if this is here. I don't care if this is here. Because when you do it that way, that's still you trying to get rid of the thoughts and feelings. That's you saying, oh, well, David taught me these methods, so now I'm doing these methods of trying to not care if the thoughts and feelings are there in order to get rid of them. No, then that's still you trying to get rid of them. That's still you telling your brain this must be a danger. So if you're ever proving or forcing or trying to convince yourself that you don't care if they're there, or convince yourself that that they can be something good, then that still is going to tell your brain, oh, well, obviously these aren't something good then, and obviously I do care if these thoughts and feelings are there or not, because otherwise I wouldn't be trying so hard to convince myself that I don't care, or to convince myself that I want to have these. And because of this, the big takeaway I want you to have from everything I just said, the one goal I want you to have of how you are going to treat the negative thoughts and feelings when they get triggered, is you want to ask yourself this one question: if all these negative thoughts and feelings are actually nothing in my life, if they're actually just my brain imagining up lies, distorting reality, so they actually mean nothing about myself, my life, or my future, then how would I be thinking about them? How would I be treating them? Or if these negative thoughts and feelings can actually become something that makes my reality and my life even better, so they can be something that I actually want, then how would I be thinking about them and treating them? Because here's the thing: when you ask yourself that question, when you go, if these were actually nothing to me, then how would I be thinking and communicating in my brain? Then that's going to lead you to think and communicate in your brain in a way that actually tells you that they're nothing to you. So then your brain actually won't care if they're there or not. And then your brain will actually automatically get rid of them so that they stop getting triggered in your life. I'm about to teach you 10 strategies that you can start applying today of how to not care if the thoughts and feelings are there at all or not. And I'm going to give you 10 strategies you can start applying right now today of how you can change the meaning so that you actually want the negative thoughts and feelings to get triggered, because they make your life better. But as you go into all of these strategies, as you apply all of them, it's got to be from the frame or the mindset of, if I actually wasn't caring about them, if I actually wanted them, then how would I be thinking this? Not from a lens of, oh, I have to prove it, or I have to somehow do this in order to get rid of the thoughts and feelings. No, because then that will just make things worse. Instead, it's about deciding that you truly want to view the negative thoughts and feelings as if they are nothing. Deciding that you truly want to treat them as if you don't care if they're there or not. The number one way to do this, and my favorite way to do it, is to literally just dismiss the thoughts and feelings or the worries as if it's not even worth your time or effort. So when the thought would get triggered of, oh no, what if someone's judging me or whatever, I'd just be like, sick, great, cool, like, awesome, I hope so, yeah, that would be great, oh, perfect, thanks for sharing, I do not care. Like, okay, and like, oh yeah, great. Almost just treat like, let's say you're somewhere in public and someone's like trying to grab your attention to sell something to you or to like hand you something, and you're just like, oh yeah, great, no, like, I'm good. It's the same thing. It's like, this thought isn't even worth my time. Like, it's not even, when your brain tells you that same fear over and over again, it's like, it's not even worth your time. It's not even worth you trying to disprove it or trying to like, it's like, oh, sick brain, yeah, you've said that a million times, like, oh, cool. And then you move on with living your life or choosing to believe what you want to believe. When you treat it as if it's literally no significance to you, then that will tell your subconscious, wow, this actually has no significance to me. And then your brain will actually treat it and view it accordingly, which will take all of its power away. Number two, when the thoughts and feelings or worries get triggered, just laugh at them. Whether it's physically out loud laughing at them, or if it's somewhere where you can't laugh out loud, then just in your mind, actually imagine yourself laughing at them. So for me, when the thought would get triggered, oh no, what if I'm getting judged? I just be like, like I just be walking around campus, I was just like laughing, and people are probably like, what's he laughing at? I'm laughing at my brain telling me these stupid things that are so dumb and so untrue and have no power over me, so much that I'm literally laughing at them, right? Because when you laugh at those terrible thoughts and feelings, it tells your brain, this must not be significant or bad or anything I need to worry about, because I'm literally laughing at it, and I only laugh about it when it doesn't matter. So I almost treat this like me and my little brother are super close, but we love talking trash. So he'll be like, David, I'm gonna dump on you. And I just be like, like, Mom, did you hear this guy? Like, he just said he's gonna dunk on me. Like, oh, he's so funny. What a comedian, right? I treat the thoughts the same way. Oh, I over exaggerate it, like really, brain, really? Like, that's crazy. That's hilarious that you thought that would make me afraid. Number three, change the voice of the thoughts. So when the thought gets triggered, oh no, what if people are judging me? You could think the exact same thought. Just change it to a goofy voice. So it's like, oh no, what if people are judging me? Oh. Or you could change it to a Darth Vader voice, or to a like Winnie the Pooh voice, like whatever, just to make it so it's a dumb, silly voice. Because then that tells your brain that, oh, well, if I'm thinking this thought in this weird, silly voice, whatever, then obviously it's a weird, silly thought instead of a thought that I have to actually take seriously and have to actually worry about. I remember one time I was helping someone and they were just wanting to sulk. They were in a bad mood, so I was like, okay, for 1 minute you can sulk, and then after that we're gonna turn things around. So they were just kind of laying there, just sulking. But while they were sulking, I just started saying all the thoughts I knew they were thinking, just in a silly voice. So I'd be like, oh no, life's so hard. Oh, I just want to pout. And I call these things, and they started laughing. They were like, David, stop it. Like, I just want to sulk for a little bit. And they literally couldn't feel bad. Like, they automatically started laughing because of just the change of the voice. So that way you can take the power away from the thought. Number four, make it absurd. When the thought or feeling gets triggered, just turn it into something that's so crazy, shocking, that it just totally disrupts your pattern, because you're like, what the heck? Like, I'm not used to thinking that. Like, that's so weird and so surprising. Like, what has just happened? For example, I used to have the fear of having sweat marks, because I thought if anyone ever saw me with sweat marks, then they'd judge me and they'd tell everyone, and I'd be a disgusting outcast forever. So when my brain would be like, oh no, what if I start sweating and have sweat marks? I'd be like, oh no. And then I'm going to start sweating so much that all of a sudden there's like this waterfall just flowing through me. And all of a sudden I'm walking through the hallways at school, and it's like I'm Aquaman, because the halls are filling with the sweat, and everyone's like running in terror, and it's this crazy thing. And when I would think that way, my brain would be like, what? Like, that obviously would never happen, which then tells your brain that, yeah, that worried thought also would never happen, right? If every time you think about that fear, you turn it into something totally absurd, then it tells your brain, well, I guess the fear itself is also absurd. So obviously it's not a real danger I have to actually treat seriously, which takes all of its power away. Number five, just find the humor in it. Make it funny. For example, if I'm about to give this big public speech, or I'm about to give a piano performance, and I'm so nervous and anxious, and the thought's like, what if I mess up, and what if I just freeze and I don't know what to do and it's so embarrassing? Then I'll be like, that would be so funny. Like, in 5 years, I would look back at that and I'd be like, that's so funny. It'd be a great story to tell. A quote I love is, things are only bad until you find the humor in them. And even if it's not necessarily super related to the worried thought, just finding humor in general. For example, before, when I was terrified to ask girls on dates, right before I'd call a girl to ask her on a date, I would start cracking jokes in my head and just be like, dude, that's crazy. Like, oh, and then this and this thing, like, oh, that thing's hilarious. And I would just get into this playful, funny state, because then it tells your brain, obviously, whatever you're so worried about, or all of it, obviously it doesn't matter. And it's not a big deal or a scary thing, because we're just laughing and having fun and finding the humor. So obviously nothing's that big of a deal, which automatically takes the power away from the negative thoughts and feelings. Number six, challenge it. If you're a competitive person, you are going to love this, because you are going to talk trash to your own brain. So when the thoughts and feelings get triggered of that fear, it's like, really, brain? Like, really? That's all you've got? Like, do better. That's pathetic. Like, you really think you can get me to fear that thing? Like, like, bring it on. tell me more. Like, yeah, what else you got? What else? Oh, yeah, I don't care. Yeah, like, get the heck out of here. I own you. I own you, brain. Or you could even be like, I want to give you this last chance to run and hide, because if you keep coming at me, I'm going to kick your butt so bad, you're going to cry. You're going to beg for mercy. That is how bad I am going to just obliterate and destroy you so much. Like, trust me, you do not want to even come at me, because it will not end well for you. And I don't want you to get this mixed up with, oh, but David, I thought we weren't supposed to fight or argue with the thoughts, because that makes it worse. There's a difference between, if someone were to talk trash to me in pool or basketball and they're like, oh, you can't score on me, like, you suck. I'm not gonna be like, no, I can score on you. I really can. Like, no, I can score. No. I'm gonna be like, oh yeah, like, all right, give me the ball right now. Like, I'm going to break your ankles and dunk on your face. Like, just leave the court now while you have the chance. Right? Like, there's a very big difference there. Because when you treat the thoughts like this, like, oh, like, bring it on. I'm going to absolutely destroy you and win this. Then it tells your brain, obviously, these thoughts and feelings aren't dangers or fears, because they have no power, because I have so much power over them. And every time they get triggered, it just gives me more power. Number 7, label it for the truth of what it actually is. This could look like saying, it's just words and sounds and thoughts happening in my brain, or it's just images and pictures and pixels of different colors in my brain, or it's just chemicals and physical sensations flowing through my body. And now that you actually understand the truth of what's happening with OCD and anxiety, you can even be like, that's just my convincing topic, or that's just patterns in my subconscious, or that's just my brain imagining up lies to try to trick me and distort reality and lie to me to try to make me scared. Or, wow, that's literally just nothing. Like, now that you know that the truth, and here's a big point with this I want to make, is that it's not about convincing yourself or proving to yourself that it's just an image or it's just a thought, or just, no, it's about, now that you understand that it's actually just thoughts and feelings, now that you know that that is true, then if you are actually taking it in and actually realizing that that is the truth, then how would you be thinking about it? You'd be like, holy cow, like, that's actually just a convincing topic lying to me. Like, whoa, that's so cool. Or, oh my goodness, that's just my imagination. That's just that imaginary elephant. Like, wow, that really is nothing. Holy cow, like, that's so good to know. That's the way I want you to take it in. And to take this even a step further and have even more power with this, a thing that I love to do is I'd be like, really, brain? Like, you really think that I'm going to let words and images in my brain and chemicals flowing through me tell me how I have to live my life? Like, really, brain? You really think I'm going to let sounds and pixels in my brain and sensations in my body tell me what I have to believe and how I have to view reality? Like, are you kidding me? So in that way, if you can break it down to the bare minimum of what's happening, so when that awful thoughts that you're like, this really is just sounds that together form words that together we interpret as this story that my brain always tells me. That's actually all that's happening. When you break it down like that, then it's like, how would it have power over you? How would it be this terrible, awful thing? Number 8 is called 8 Mile, and it actually has nothing to do with running. Instead, it comes from the movie 8 Mile about Eminem the rapper. In the final rap battle between Eminem and his competitor, Eminem goes first, and he's a genius because he takes everything that his competitor is about to say about him to roast him, and he says it and owns it himself. He's like, yeah, you did steal my girl, and you did beat me up. And at the end, he's like, I don't even want to win this competition. And so when his competitor gets up, he has nothing to say, because Eminem took all of his ammunition away from him. So you can do the same thing with your own brain. Take all the ammunition. You know your brain. You know what worries and what thoughts and what evidence and what feelings it's going to use to try to convince you of that terrible thing. Say it all. Own it all. Be like, yeah, I am a terrible person. Oh, I did do this terrible thing. Yeah, I probably do suck. And yeah, I probably am this way. And yeah, I probably will never be loved. And don't necessarily say it like it's so true, but just say it like, oh yeah, yep. Like, keep it coming. What else? And okay, bring it on. And then at the end, still own what you want to believe or what you want to trust is true. Like, yeah, yep, all those things, yep, and I'm still going to be loved. Yep, and I'm still going to overcome this. Yep, and I'm still free. Bring it on. Because then your brain literally has nothing it can use against you. It loses all of its power because it's like, oh, well, like, we just owned all those terrible things and yet we're still believing this good thing. Like, oh, and your brain has nothing, and then you win. Number 9, give it to God. And there's a more silly, fun way and a more serious way that you can do this. So first, the fun way is when my brain would tell me all these words of, oh, what about this? What if I'm a terrible person for this? What if they judge me? I'd just be like, oh yeah, dang, that's a good point. You're right. Oh wait, but I have God, so I'm good. Like, oh, dang, yeah, that would be terrible. Oh, wait, but I have Jesus. So I win and I don't have to worry about it. There you go. And I would literally play it out that way in my brain and tell my brain, like, yeah, tell me as dark and awful as you want because it doesn't mean anything to me. And the more serious way is literally just when the worries would get triggered, I would just actually see myself giving it to God. And I would like in my mind, it's like, I'm giving that to you, God. So it's like, oh, you're this terrible mistake you made. It's like, I give it to you. Oh, and you're going to fail at this. It's like, I just give that to you, God. Because maybe I can't beat the thought. Maybe I can't get rid of it. Maybe I can't be stronger. Maybe I can't even, be good enough in life. Or maybe my brain, one of my favorite things, my brain would be like, you're not good enough for this or this. And I'd be like, you're right, I'm not, but God is good enough. So I just give that to him, and through him, I'm still going to have everything I dream of. Actually see yourself giving it to God so that you don't have to carry it anymore because he takes it from you. Number 10 is to visually shift the thoughts or worries to make it so they're nothing to you. There are multiple ways you can do this. So first, you can imagine the thought turning into a cloud and just floating away. Because then it's like, great, the thought can be here all at once, but it's just going to be a cloud that's floating away until I can't see it anymore. Or you can imagine it turning into like a black dot that just gets smaller and smaller and just farther and farther away till you can't see it anymore. Or you can imagine scratching out the image, right? You see this image, this awful thing, and you should imagine scratching it out till you can't even see it anymore. So even if you tried to, all you see is a scratched out image. Or you can imagine a curtain in your mind or a curtain inside your body with the feeling. And you can take the feeling or the thought and just place it behind the curtain. So it's like, great, you can be here all you want, thought or feeling, because I can't even see you. You're just behind a curtain. Even if I tried to see you, I would just see a curtain. So then who cares? Or you can imagine putting it on a movie screen and imagine it just pixelating, getting all blurry so you can't even see it anymore. Or you can imagine it being an ice cube that's just like on a hot plate, just melting and fading away. Or probably my favorite is you can imagine that it's just a virtual reality headset that you're wearing. So it's like, great, show me anything you want because it's just a headset that can't change my reality at all. So who cares? But just a reminder, with this strategy and with all of them, you're not changing the meaning or making it nothing in order to get rid of it because you have to get rid of it, right? It's not, oh, I'm going to imagine it being a cloud so that I can somehow get it to go away. No, you're changing the meaning to make it nothing so that you cannot care if it's there or not. That has to actually be the goal, is to not care if it's there or not, right? So it's like, I don't care if my brain triggers these thoughts and feelings all day because every time it triggers them, I just turn it into a cloud. And I can imagine a cloud, who cares? So great, go ahead, brain, bring it on all day because I'm just going to laugh at it and I can laugh at thoughts all day. Like, that's the goal here. And the 10 ways that you can change the meaning of the negative thoughts and feelings so that you can actually want them to get triggered because they get you the reality and the beliefs that you want even more. Number one, and probably my second favorite, the second most powerful of all the strategies, my very favorite will be the last one, is what I call the ultimate hack of anxiety. And basically what this means is anytime you feel anxiety or shame or any negative emotion, instead of viewing it as proof that the bad thing is actually true, instead start viewing all negative emotions as warnings that you are about to believe a lie. So anytime I have a worried thought of, oh no, what if someone's judging me? And then I feel the anxiety, then I go, oh, if I'm feeling anxiety towards this, then it means it's just a lie. So that's my brain warning me, David, you're about to believe a lie. You're about to believe something that's not going to help you, that's not going to give you your best life that you actually want. So, oh no, warning, negative feeling, warning, you're about to believe that lie. Instead, don't believe that lie. Instead, believe something that's true, something that's empowering. So it's like, I have this forever hack that anytime I'm about to believe a lie, my brain actually tells me about it. And then I can remind myself to believe the truth instead. Because once you understand that anything from your convincing topic is a lie, right? So in that way, anything that causes you to feel that anxiety or shame that you always feel towards your convincing topic, it's actually a lie. So now you actually can view this as truth of like, oh, anything that brings me anxiety is a lie. So the anxiety itself is just a reminder of that, and a reminder that I can let go of that thing that I was about to worry about. And instead I can believe something amazing that I want to believe instead. Number two, flow to let go. The mistake everyone makes with negative emotions that keeps them stuck is they think that in order to control the negative emotions, they have to try to resist it or try to fight against it or try to stop themselves from feeling it. But what that actually does is it just makes it stuck inside of you and bottles up the emotion. Instead, the way to actually gain power over the negative emotions is to consciously decide to let it flow. Because when you just let it flow and you let yourself feel it, then before you know it, it's gone. And it's no longer bottled up and trapped inside of you. And it can actually flow away like it's flowing down a river. Because the crazy thing is, science shows that an emotional response naturally only lasts for 90 seconds. And then the chemicals actually just flow away and they're gone and you're not feeling it anymore. So the only reason why you feel it longer than 90 seconds is because you try to resist it and you're stopping it, and it makes it just keep being there. So because of this, you want to consciously decide to flow your emotions through you. Flow them, feel them, like actually actively feel that negative emotion, because that is how you release it. That is how you gain power over the emotion, is to decide to feel it. And because of this, I remember one specific time when I'd been stuck in this negative emotion for a couple days. And finally I was like, you know what? For the rest of today, for all of today, I'm just gonna step into the emotion. I'm just gonna step into it more and feel it more and step into it more and just keep like actively, like in my mind, I'm stepping into and feeling this emotion more. And the crazy thing was, after like 5 minutes of doing that, the emotion was gone. Because once you give yourself permission to feel the emotion, then that tells your brain this negative emotion isn't actually a danger. So when you actually decide to let yourself feel it, not that you need to believe the thing that's telling you to feel that way. If you're feeling anxiety because your brain's telling you that everyone's judging you, it doesn't mean you have to accept the truth that everyone's judging you. No, you trust the truth that people are loving me because that's what I want to be believing. But the physical response itself, the physical emotion itself, just feel it, step into it, embrace it, actually want and intensify the emotion, because that is how you tell your brain, this isn't a danger. This isn't something I need to be feeling anymore. And it will automatically let go of it. For example, when I would go up to an attractive woman and I would talk to her and my heart is racing, I'd be like, good, pound even faster, like race even faster. Because then that tells my brain, oh, this actually isn't a scary thing. And then it automatically slows down. Or when my hands are shaky, I'd be like, good, shake even more. And I consciously, on purpose, shake my hands more. Because it tells my brain, good, I want this thing. If you are wanting something, then it means it's happening for you instead of against you. And once it's happening for you, then it means that you can now guide it. You can now have power over it, because now you're doing it instead of it happening to you. That's how you truly gain power over your emotions. So from now on, anytime you have a negative emotion, it's like, good, yes, this is finally a chance for me to actively feel that emotion, to heal and to let go of it so it's out of my system and I can finally be free from the negative emotion. Number three, and this one has probably gotten the most excited feedback from people that I've shared it with because they love it. It's basically the idea that now that you're learning how to take power away from the negative thoughts and feelings, from the anxiety and OCD, then basically this might be the last time that you ever have to feel this much anxiety again. This might be the last time you ever have to have this strong of an intrusive thought again. This might be the worst it ever gets again. That way, when the negative thoughts or feelings get triggered, the thought or feeling itself actually separates you from the negative thoughts and feelings, because it's like, wow, this negative thought and feeling, it might never be this bad again. This might be the last time I ever have to experience this, because I actually am changing my brain and gaining power over this, which will make it so that it's not as bad. And in that way, the negative thought or feeling actually gets you excited about your healing, and it gets you excited about how much it doesn't condemn you and about how much it isn't bad anymore in your life. Number four, using the negative thoughts and feelings as reminders of what you want to believe or do more. For example, I had a client with religious OCD, always worrying about if they committed this sin. And once they were able to realize that every time their brain reminded them of the awful sin they might have committed, that was just a chance to choose to have more faith in Jesus, to actually have faith in him as their redeemer instead of their own perfection. So in that way, it's like, good, like brain, go ahead, bring it on all day. All day, make me think about all the sins I might have committed, because every time you do, it just reminds me to have even more faith and to be even more grateful to Jesus that he redeemed me, and to just love him and be on fire for him even more, because he's just so good that he overcame that sin no matter what the sin was. And in that way, it's like all of those worst thoughts actually became something that got them what they wanted even more, is the faith and the love and the trust in Jesus. Or every time my brain would try to make me worry about someone judging me, I'd be like, I actually want to be my most confident, fun, funny, social self. I want to be that version of myself way more than I care about not getting judged by people. So good. Every time my brain be, oh, what if they're judging for this? Like, good. That's just a reminder for me to actually choose to be that most confident self and to live in a way that I will get judged, because I want to get judged now, because that means I'm living as my most confident self, which I want to be my most confident, truest self way more than I want to avoid this person's judgment in this moment. So every time my brain makes me think even the worst thoughts about being judged, that's just a reminder for me to live the life that I want even more, and a reminder that I want that more, which can actually help me have the life that I want even more. Number 5, relabeling. Tony Robbins shares this story about two musicians. One of them, when they would go to perform, they'd have panic attacks, anxiety, it was awful. The second one loved performing. And he talks about when he was talking to the first one, he's like, okay, tell me like what's so awful about when you're performing. And they're like, okay, so when I'm about to perform, my heart starts pounding, my breathing gets fast, I have all this energy inside me, I'm like all shaky. And that's when I know I'm having a panic attack and I have to escape and not perform. He's like, dang, okay. And then the second one that loved performing, he's like, okay, tell me what it's like when you perform. They're like, so Tony, when I'm about to perform, my heart starts pounding, my breathing's all fast, and I have all this energy inside me, I'm like all shaky. And that's when I know I'm so excited and I'm just ready to go perform. And he talks about how the crazy thing is they were both experiencing almost the exact same thing. But because one of them labeled it as fear and anxiety and all this bad stuff, then it became that for them. Because one of them labeled it as excitement and being ready, then it became that for them. So you can literally take the exact same thing and just relabel it as something else. So your anxiety can become excitement and fuel, and your shame can become motivation and a call to level up. For example, when I go to the gym to work out, if I'm feeling discouraged, then instead of calling it, oh, it's this awful discouragement, instead I view it as, oh, this is a fuel source to help me get the most out of my workout. Or if I'm feeling anxious, it's like, oh, good, this is adrenaline that's going to help me get more out of my workout. Or if I'm feeling happy and excited, it's like, good, this is fuel and high energy that will help me get the most out of my workout. But whatever emotion it is, I can actually relabel it and turn it into something that supports me, something that I am using for my good, using to create the life and the experiences that I dream of. Number 6, view negative emotion as something that can actually make life richer with more variety and more life about it. I remember one specific time when I was really trying to get rid of this negative emotion, and then instead I had this realization where I was like, I don't have to always feel good, but I can always find the appreciation and the enjoyment in any moment with any emotion. And that's when I automatically started feeling better even in that negative emotion. Or another way I looked at this is some people pay a lot of money to feel fear. Right? People pay a ton of money to go skydiving. People pay money to go to haunted houses and do all these things that actually the purpose of them is to feel the fear, right? So it's like, guess what? I feel this strong of fear all the time. I don't even have to pay for it, right? When you realize that just because there's a negative emotion, it doesn't mean it's this terrible, awful thing. But instead, that actually, emotion itself can just be what makes life worth living. It's what makes life exciting because I get to experience all the different emotions. Like, who says that it's a terrible thing? And once you start viewing emotion as just life itself, just all the different experiences, and I want to experience it all, that's when you become truly free. And that's when all the negative emotions and negative thoughts and everything loses all of its power. Number 7, make a slight shift to what your brain is telling you to turn it into something good. So if you have the intrusive thought of harming someone that you love, instead shift it into hugging someone that you love. Or if you have the thought of seeing people whispering, judging you, instead shift it to them whispering, talking something good about you, or whatever it is, just slightly change it so that then it's like, great brain, bring it on, because anytime you make me think that thought, it just slightly changes into something that's actually good, something that I'm actually fine with thinking about all the time. Number 8, I call growth phase. And basically what I mean by this is, as I was overcoming all the OCD and anxiety, I basically expected that I'd have some really good days of improvement, and then I have a hard day or a hard hour or a hard time, and then some really good improvement, and then a hard time. And there's kind of ups and downs. So in those hard moments, when all the thoughts and the feelings are really getting triggered, I would view that as a growth phase. Not as, oh, today was such a bad, hard day, but no, today was a growth phase. Because what I realized is that you don't have breakthroughs when things are easy. You don't get breakthroughs and have massive results when it's like, oh, everything's just kind of like naturally good today. No, you create breakthroughs when things are hard and it's tough and things are really getting triggered and really just going at you. And you still trust the beliefs you want. And you still decide to trust that all those thoughts and feelings are just nothing. It's just your imagination that you don't have to get rid of, because who cares? It literally means nothing. Like that. That is why I called it a growth phase, because I've realized if I can still trust the beliefs and the reality that I want, even when everything's getting triggered so hard right now, then just think of how good life's going to be and how much I'll be able to believe in the life that I want when it's not getting triggered so bad. So in that way, you can even ask my clients, they'll be like, oh, things were really getting triggered today. And I'll be like, oh, good, like perfect. This is going to be so good for you, because that is how you can actually get those improvements, is when it's the hard day. And when you still decide, I don't care about any of this, I choose to trust this reality. And then you win and you teach your brain that even in the darkest times, it's got nothing on you and you still can have that power and that freedom that you want. Number 9, Goggins mode from David Goggins. Basically, just because something is painful doesn't make it bad. In fact, the fact that it's painful makes it good, because that means that you are becoming stronger. When you exercise a muscle, it gets stronger when you are feeling pain. Alex Hormozi talks about if you're trying to create the strongest human being possible, you probably put them through a lot of really hard, painful things, right? So that is the way you can shift it, so that any negative emotion or experience or anything is actually just making you stronger. So the more you go through those, the stronger it gets triggered, the worse it is, the more that you become a force that is unstoppable, that is so strong that in the future, nothing will be able to defeat you. I love the quote of, if you embrace what's hard now, then you might just become so strong that nothing that life throws at you will ever be able to be that hard again. So if the pain itself makes something good, then moving forward, anything painful can automatically become something that benefits you and that you view as something good in your life. Number 10. I call a wake-up call or a call to greatness. So an analogy that I heard once that I loved is, one time there was this donkey that fell into a well, and he's like, oh no, I'm stuck in here. I'm never going to make it out and have the life that I want. But before he knows it, he sees the farmer poke his head over the well, and he's like, yes, the farmer's going to save me now. But then all of a sudden, it's like, boom, boom, and he's getting hit by these rocks and this dirt, and he's like, what the heck? I thought the farmer was going to save me. Why is he burying me? Why is he throwing all this stuff on me? And it hurts and it's painful. And he's like, I'm already down. Like, why would all these bad things happen? But after a minute of that, he realized that all he had to do was shake it off and step up. Shake it off and rise. Because when he shaked off the dirt, then the dirt was falling on the ground and it was actually starting to fill up the well. Before he knew it, the well filled up, and he kept climbing up the dirt and rocks, and he made it out of the well to freedom, to the life that he wanted. This story is so powerful because this happens so much in life, that the very thing that you think is terrible, the very thing that your brain's telling you, oh my goodness, well, you failed in this way, or oh, but this person judged you in this way, or oh, but this bad thing happened in your relationship. See, you did have this argument, so this isn't the right relationship for you. Or see, this person did judge you or reject, so you are just a loser that will never have the love you want. No, so often in life, the very bad, worst things themselves are actually the very thing you need in order to have the life that you dream of. For example, I always tell my clients, the reason I have so much freedom and so much power over my brain, where at this point it's like nothing can really faze me. I never fear my brain. I never really fear much of anything, because I've learned how to overcome it that much. And it's not because things were always easy or because things just naturally happened perfectly all the time. No, it's because of all the times when things didn't work and I couldn't feel it and I couldn't believe it and I couldn't let go of that negative feeling and it was kicking my butt. It was all the times when things weren't working that forced me to become more creative, more resourceful, to learn more, to understand something. It forced me to level up, or to wake up, right? It's a wake-up call to say, hey, you've got to learn something new to overcome this. And in overcoming each of those specific things that my brain threw at me in a new way that kicked my butt again, in overcoming each of those, it actually created me into the person that now doesn't really get fazed by anything from my brain, because it created me to be that level up person. Michael Jordan, the greatest basketball player of all time, he would not have been as dominant and great if he hadn't gone through the bad boy Pistons. If he hadn't gotten his butt kicked and gotten beat up by them for years and years in a row, then he never would have become the Michael Jordan that he was. Because through those hardest challenges and him losing and him hating it and him just crushing his soul, that forced him to level up. It forced him to start lifting weights differently, start training differently, to become a different type of leader, and to become a basketball player that could then overcome the Pistons. And by becoming the basketball player that could overcome the Pistons, he then became the basketball player that was the Michael Jordan. I never would have had the social skills and life that I have now if it wasn't for all the times when I didn't know what to say and when I felt awkward and when I was worried about people judging me and all these things that then forced me to actually get creative with finding how to communicate and finding how to flirt and studying things and learning from things and becoming that person that I am today. That argument you had in your relationship can actually force you to go and now actually communicate what's going on in a way that will make your relationship stronger than it ever would have been without that argument. Or that sin that you committed can actually push you to move closer to God and to rely on Him more and have more faith in Him in a way that you are actually more righteous and closer to God than you ever would have been without messing up and making that mistake. Or that time you were judged and rejected can actually push you to level up and become the person that can then have the dating life or the confidence or whatever it is that you want. Like the very bad things themselves can actually become the best thing for you that will create the life that you dream of. But it all depends on how you view it. You can let pressure burst a pipe, or you can let pressure create a diamond. It all depends on how you view this thing. But if you decide this thing is actually can be an opportunity and it can actually be the greatest blessing in my life, then it actually can become that way. You have the power to turn the worst things into the best things in your life. And that way you can take all the power away from the negative thoughts, negative feelings, and the worries and all the bad things your brain's telling you, because you can actually make those bad things something that makes you win. And my all-time favorite strategy to take power over your brain, over the negative thoughts and feelings, is what I call your past self. That anything that your brain says that goes with your convincing topic, anything that your brain says that goes against the life that you want to live, the life that you want to believe and experience and view as real, anything that goes against that is your past self. So whenever the thoughts or feelings would get triggered, like, oh no, what if this person judges me? I'd be like, wow, I did used to worry about people judging me, or wow, I did used to get judged all the time, or oh, I did used to have that flaw, but wow, now I can actually be this confident person, or now I actually know that people love me, or now I can actually believe in myself and be that person I want to be. Or if your brain's like, oh no, what if I lose control and harm someone? It's like, wow, I did used to be afraid of that. I did used to feel so out of control with my actions, but now I know the truth that I'll always be able to control my actions. Or if your brain's like, oh my goodness, I just feel so stuck and I feel all these negative thoughts and feelings that are so terrible. And it's like, yeah, I did used to be stuck in those, and those were awful. And I did used to struggle with anxiety and OCD, but now I'm so free, and now I have so much power of my brain, and now I'm actually healing and in love with each moment. And the reason this is so powerful is because then the very negative thoughts and feelings themselves actually overcome themselves. The very fear or worry that you have actually conquers and separates you from that fear. Because then instead of the negative thought or feeling or the awful memory about your past, instead of it being an indicator of something that you're still stuck in or something that bad about your life, instead it's a reminder of what you are now free from. It's a reminder of the new life and the new person that you can have instead. So the more your brain tells you that people are judging you, the more that actually reminds and empowers you to step into that new reality of people not judging you, of people loving you. And the more that it actually tells your brain that thing doesn't exist anymore because it's just my past self. And isn't it amazing that now I can have my new true self with this amazing life that I want? And the place where this becomes even more powerful is that the more that you do this, the more that you'll take all the power away from the old patterns, that old person that you used to be, and the more you'll actually be able to memorize the new patterns and become that new person that can actually create that new life. So that all the things that you're saying, oh, that's just my past self, it will actually make it so that those are just your past self and they don't exist anymore. They don't have any more significance, any more reality. They're just completely gone. So as soon as you decide to treat something as if it's only your past self and it's not real anymore, which empowers you then to step into that new self, that new reality, the more that it actually makes all those things just your past self that's gone. In this way, it allows you not only to be free from all the negative thoughts and feelings, but it actually allows you to embrace all of the worst thoughts and feelings, because every time you embrace it, it actually just gives you power to be free from it, and instead gives you power to become the opposite new version of yourself each time. Do you see how powerful this is? So comment below which method you're going to try first. And again, if you want a full process to actually be able to step by step, be able to create all the beliefs you want in a way that's unconditional and nothing can stop you, and you don't have to prove or force, but you can actually just do it from the power inside of you, and in a way where you can create all the emotions you want in any moment, because you actually learn how to communicate with your brain in a way that automatically creates those emotions. And if you want to learn how to channel that strongest gut feeling inside of you that's just so strong and so real in creating the OCD and anxiety, if you want to learn how to channel that to actually get you the beliefs and the thoughts and the feelings that you want, and if you want more understanding about the OCD and anxiety and what's causing it, and if you want more information on a program where we actually guarantee you get all the results you want, or it's free. Like, that is how confident we are that it works, because it's just how the brain works. Like, It's that simple. So if you want more information on that, then go to the link below and schedule a free call to see if this is the right fit for you and to see if you qualify. So if you want to make this the day where you actually change your life, where you overcome all the OCD and the anxiety for good in a way that nothing can stop you, no matter what hasn't worked for you before, no matter who's told you that it's impossible to beat, no matter what, if you want to actually create that life that you dream of and finally escape all of this pain and suffering, go to that link below to get more information. Let's go.